So today I'm going to talk to you about using algebra tiles for solving equations. But before we begin, I want to go through what the algebra tiles looks like. The ones I tend to recommend have these shapes. Um, there's three different size blocks. The larger the two sizes are green, the smaller is red, and the flip side are all white. So before you begin, I want you to make sure that you're following along with whatever resource that you do use. I use it in the classroom, and the resource I use, that the colorful side is the positive side, and the lack of color side is the negative side. So just be careful on the resources you use for which in the resource is red or white depending on the resource. So these are definitely the tiles that I use quite frequently. So just to give you a bit of a background on it, what students will do, and they'll notice that this looks very much like a base 10 system, and it's not. Because, for example, I'm going to take as a bunch of the red pieces and line them up as much as I can. Well, once I've lined up 5, it doesn't quite hit the edge. And if I put 6, then it's way too much. So all what we can say for certain is that we don't know the length of that side. And since we don't know the length of that side, we're going to call the length of that side x. I'm going to call that guy 1, this guy x. And since this guy is a square, but the length of both sides is x, we're going to call this guy x squared. So in middle years, we really don't use this guy. So he's going to go bye-bye, and we're going to actually just use these guys for the video. We're going to use the x bars and the unit pieces. So one other piece that we need to know before we begin is the idea of zero pair. So in front of me right now is I have two positive 1 pieces, and I have two negative 1 pieces. So I have positive 2 and negative 2 here. But altogether, the value is 0, so I can just cancel it out. So now we have that. We're going to go over 4 types of equations you can solve using algebra tiles. So this page here just has a squiggly line down the middle, and I'm just going to use this like the squiggly line is my equal sign. So in order to be good mathematicians, whatever we do to one side, we're going to do to the other. So let's start out with our first equation here. We have x plus 2 is equal to 5. So always my goal is going to be with when I use algebra tiles is try to get the unit pieces on one side and try to get the x pieces on the other. So right now I've got an x and sorry, I have one x tile here and some unit pieces. So I want to move those unit pieces over there. So remember my zero pair. I've got positive 2 here. What do I know removes them off the table? Hopefully you said negative 2. But whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other. So I'm going to introduce the negative 2 tiles to both sides. Here cancels out. Zoop. And over here, those zero pair cancels out. And I'm left with x equals 3. It's kind of cool because we've actually mimicked the written down steps, but here we're just using tiles. All right, that's the first type of equation we can solve. Here's another one-step equation. I've got 2x is equal to 6. So I actually whenever I see that I've got more than one x tile, I know I'm going to try to do some grouping. So I'm going to try to stack them up and have a look. Is there 2 equal groups that I can make with the unit tiles that I can here? That's kind of cool. So once I know I've got 2 groups here and 2 groups here, I'm going to divide those groups into 2. And once I've divided it, I can tell you that my x is equal to 3. So we're going to take both of those ideas and get into a bit of a more complex equation. And we have 3x minus 2 is equal to 4. So let's get those tiles out. We've got 3x minus 2 is equal to 4. All right, so have a look. What is your first step? Now, hopefully you said is I want to get all the x's on one side and all the units on the other. So let's do that here. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to take those two pieces and try to zero them out. So to zero them out, I'm going to add in 2. And when I add in the 2 on one side, I've got to add in the 2 on the other. Right on. So now I can zero that out. And I'm left with 3x plus 6. So I'm going to see if I can divide these into 3 equal groups. And looky there, I can. I've got 3x is equal to 6. And since I can divide them into equal groups, I'm going to take those out, and I have x equals 2. Kind of neat. All right, last type of equation to show you today with algebra tiles. Here we go. I've got 4x minus 1 is equal to 2x plus 5. Alrighty. So just for consistency's sake, I'm going to try to aim for my bars on the left side here and my unit on the right side here. But there's no preference, really. I'm just doing that for me. So with that in mind, I'm going to take that guy away. So in order to take that guy away, I got to introduce a positive. So I'm going to introduce a positive on both sides. And the way that helps me out is I can take those 2 away. And in the exact same way, I'm going to take these guys away from here. So in order to do that, I'm going to introduce 2 negatives. That'll clear them out here. And also take away those guys there as well. All right, so now I'm left with 2x plus 6. I now have 2 equal groups, so I'll divide. X is equal to 3. Good luck.